Good evening. Welcome to the Design Review Board meeting of November 10th, 2022. The Design Review Board meeting is now called to order. Please silence all cell phones at this time. The DRB meeting is being broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable Channel 6, and at AT&T UVerse Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition on the city's webpage at www.glendaleca.gov/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire devices using a free app called ScreenWeave and choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city's website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting the questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by visiting our website at glendaleca.gov, that's G-O-V. Records of the decisions for all projects will be posted online on the Planning Division's website. Please note that appeal of any case heard today must be filed within 15 calendar days of the Design Review Board decision date. Your case planner would be able to assist you in filing an appeal, and those appeals are now online only, so no longer are applications available at Permit Services. Next up, we have roll call. Board Member Lockeroff is absent this evening. Board Member Chagayan is also absent this evening. Board Member Welch.
Present.
Board Member Kaskanian.
Present.
And Chair Simonian.
Present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum with 3 board members present. Next up is reports regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for the November 10th, 2022 regular meeting of the Glendale Design Review Board was posted on the city's website on November 3rd, 2022, and on the bulletin board outside City Hall on November 5th, 2022. Next up would be the approval of minutes, and these would be the minutes from September the 13th, 2022. All board members were present, and I do believe there was a clarification made by Board Member Welch. Thank you very much for that minor typo call out. Are there any other comments with regards to the minutes?
Nope.
Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Yeah, I'll move to approve them with that one small addition.
Thank you. I have a motion by Board Member Welch. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
The gavel?
Well, then Mr. Kaskanian.
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Board Member Kaskanian. So, in terms of roll call, Board Member Kaskanian?
Yes.
Board Member Welch?
Yes.
And Chair Simonian?
Yes.
Approval of the minutes passes. Next would be oral communications. I have no callers for oral communications and no speaker cards. Anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? All right. Next up would be board commission members' comments. Any comments from the Design Review Board? None. We have no items under old business, and we have 3 items under the new, well, actually we have 4 items under the new business. The first 3 are actual Design Review Board cases. There is a 4th item that was on the agenda for the DRB's comments, and this would be the objective design standards for a new transit-oriented development zoning chapter. However, we would like to continue that to the next hearing or the next regularly scheduled meeting for the Design Review Board so that we have all 5 board members present to be able to comment on those types of standards. So I would assume that the board is amenable to that continuance.
Yes.
No objection.
Thank you. With that said, I would like to either turn the hearing over to Chair Simonian with regards to the first case or to Ms. Azadi to give the staff presentation.
Well, our first case is PDR 2208004, and Ms. Azadi, please take it away. Thank you.
All right, good evening and thank you. This is an application for a new house at 2121 Lilac Lane. There we go. The project site is an approximately 7,400 square foot irregularly shaped corner lot located in the R1 zone, FAR District 2, with frontage on both Chevy Chase Drive and Lilac Lane. Originally developed in 1926, the site currently features a one-story, 572 square foot single-family house that will be demolished as part of the proposal. The surrounding neighborhood is a mix of single and multifamily development, and there's one commercial property located directly across the street to the east. The lot is relatively flat with a gradual slope down from Chevy Chase, and there's an existing LA County Flood Control District easement on site that's shown in blue on this slide. The applicant is proposing to construct a one-story, 1,932 square foot single-family house with an attached three-car garage. In addition to the easement that's located at the rear, shown in blue, a 12-foot future dedication is being required by the Public Works Division as part of development of the site. So it's a future dedication, but we treat it as a regular dedication as far as setbacks. New drought-tolerant landscaping is proposed throughout the site that complements the building design. There's also a new fence area in the rear yard. The design is a vertical or horizontal plank wood design, which complements the style. For reference, this is an image of the first floor plan. Overall, the mass and scale of the one-story house is compatible to the contemporary design and the context of the surrounding neighborhood. The overall height of the new house will be 17 feet, which is compatible with the other houses in the neighborhood that are 1 to 2 stories, and some of them are also multifamily development. The massing is broken up through the use of changes in facade planes and varied roof heights. In terms of design and detailing, the consistent use of materials and colors reinforces the contemporary design concept of the new house. The entryway is appropriately integrated into the design and features a covered, recessed, single-door entry with a side light, and that is set back from the street. The new windows will be aluminum clad with an external grid pattern as depicted on the drawings. There we go. The proposed materials include a navy blue standing seam metal roof, smooth plaster siding, cement board siding at the base of the house, as well as stone veneer siding along the planters and at the pillars at the entry porch. As it relates to public comments, staff has not received any. We are recommending approval of the project as proposed with no conditions. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for staff? No? Thank you. So we will open the public portion, and our first speaker is Demery Matthews. And I assumed you'd like to start us off. Is that correct?
Yes.
The other card I have is the owner.
Yeah, I'll start us off.
Welcome,
Thank you.
and state your name for the record.
My name is Demery Matthews, the applicant as well as the designer, and I prepared the drawings, so I'm here to answer any questions, or hopefully be able to answer any questions if you have any. And I think the report pretty much covered it, so I don't really have much to add. I just wanted to reiterate how eclectic the neighborhood is, with commercial structures across and apartment buildings, and it's just very mixed use, 2-story homes, 1-story homes. The pattern is varied. So that was kind of fun to work with the design guidelines in a way that I think it is somewhat traditional style, but as Mrs. Zadi mentioned, it's also kind of contemporary. So it's a little bit of a blend. Hopefully well done. So I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for the applicant designer?
I do.
Please, Mr. Walsh.
So the location of the driveway fronting onto Chevy Chase, you know, I did a site visit there, and it's quite a busy street, as I think that we
Yes.
all know. And I've recognized that that's, you know, encroachment from the control district, the flood control district is an obstacle. But did you consider possibly having the driveway on that other, on the side street there?
The homeowner might want to speak to that. I inherited the project after that had already been decided and
Okay.
worked with. I know that busy street, there's a purpose that the garage and driveway also kind of sets the living away from that, buffers it a little bit. So that's purposeful.
Okay.
Yeah, you might want to, if the homeowner speaks, you might want to
Okay. Very
address that again.
Thank you, Board Member Walsh. Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I think we'll have an opportunity for you to ask your question.
good. So,
Next speaker is Benjamin Jorgensen. Welcome.
How y'all doing?
Good evening.
So, the driveway question? I don't know, could you bring the,
Julia, could you bring?
is that okay? So we did look at that at first, and there's actually, multiple issues with that. If it comes up, the end of the lot on the other side of the house gets very narrow. It's very skinny, so getting a setback to go straight into straight it's pretty much impossible with the city requirements. I don't have the footage like memorized, but also getting the sweep to turn into the garage was also kind of a problem. And that angle where the street angles and then the driveway comes in, it's a really sharp turn you have to make to get into the driveway. And then with the easement, the driveway is extremely narrow.
okay. Okay.
That's all I have. Any more questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Zematitis, do we have any callers on this project? And I assume since there were no callers, you probably do not want to take a moment for your rebuttal. Is that correct? You don't need to. Okay. So with that, we'll go ahead and close the public portion. Board Member Walsh, would you start us off if you would?
Sure. Generally speaking, I am in support of the project. I think staff did a fine job, and, you know, again, finding no real areas to make improvements on it is always a good testament to it. I think the project is modest. As you said, you know, it's a mixed area. Lots of different kinds of things going on there, so I think you could have gone many different ways, so I really have no objection to that. I think that's personally, I would be a little concerned about the driveway backing into Chevy Chase like that, but I understand the rationale behind that, and I also agree that having the private space on top of that easement is a more quiet place, you know, will provide a more enjoyable backyard space than being up against Chevy Chase. So I get it for those reasons. So again, I think the design is nice. It's understated. I think it fits well with the context, and being a one-story, I think, is also very respectful of the surroundings. So I'm generally in support of the project. So.
Thank you, Board Member Welsh. Board Member Cascagna?
Thank you. Overall, the design of the house is really nice. I'm in support of this project. I'm excited to see it once it's fully built. I like the colors of the roof. I think that's a really good decision. But yes, I'm supportive of this project.
Thank you, Board Member Cascagna. I'm in support of the project as well. I live in the Chevy Chase Canyon, and so I drive by this property all the time. It's a huge improvement over what's there now, and it is loud. We do get a lot of cars, you know, speeding down Chevy Chase, and it does get loud with the canyon, and so I absolutely understand your rationale, and I do think that you've married good traditional use of materials with more of a contemporary kind of a style. You have the metal roof, but at the same time you have, you know, horizontal siding, building base, and so you're really marrying kind of traditional materials, traditional kind of design, but with some contemporary flair to it, such as the aluminum windows, and some of the other features. And so I'm definitely in support of the project. I think it's well done. I think staff did a good job working with the applicant as well, and I support it as well. And I noticed that there are no conditions by staff, and so I would imagine that there's no need for any kind of conversation, right, about additional conditions or anything like that. Okay. So with that, can someone make a motion?
I'll move to approve the project.
Second?
Thank you. Board Member Kaskanian,
Yes?
Board Member Welch,
Yes.
and Chair Simonian.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next project is PDR 2208073, 2124 Magan Drive. And the case planner is Mr. Joe. So whenever you're ready, Mr. Joe, start us off.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just give you a couple moments here.
Take your time.
And thank you once again, Mr. Chair, members of the board, for that brief break. Once again, the item before you is located at 2124 McGinn Drive. In summary, this request is to demolish a one-story single-family dwelling and to construct a two-story, approximately 3,800 square foot single-family dwelling with an attached 763 square foot three-car garage. The project site is generally located in the Brockmont neighborhood, which is zoned R1R2, which is Florida District 2, and located at the terminus of McGinn Drive, as you can see on the slide. The project site is located within the foothills of Verdugos. The neighborhood consists of existing terrace flat pads along McGinn, which were graded when the neighborhood was established during the 60s. Much of the project site has a flat topography, with the exception of the rear yard, which we'll go into detail in later slides. And this slide here is a Google Street view of the photo of the site. Highlighted in yellow is the subject property. The parcel's located at the McGinn cul-de-sac. And as you can see here, the existing building is set back further away from the street than the other neighboring properties because it's located in the cul-de-sac. The project site is currently developed once again with a one-story single-family dwelling, which was once again developed in the 1960s with a tract home style design, as you can see on the photos on the screen. The neighborhood context consists of majority one-story single-family dwellings. As you can see from this photo here, several have been altered throughout its time, and these homes were also developed in the 1960s. Moving forward with the proposal, this slide demonstrates the site planning of the existing, which is on the left, and the proposed, which is on the right. Although the proposed, the two-story building is a little bit larger, or actually larger, it will be centrally sited on the property and located at the previously flat portions of the lot. The proposed building pad will be more or less similar to the existing footprint of the existing house. And once again, these are side-by-side comparisons. On the left is the existing, on the right is the proposed. The project introduces approximately 969 cubic yards of cut and 14 cubic yards of fill. Majority of the cut grading is to lower the finished surface, or approximately 3 to 4 feet lower at the existing building pad in the driveways, and approximately 14 cubic yards is to fill the proposed rear yard to extend small minor portions. You can see shaded in green. And this slide here is just to demonstrate what the cut is doing. This is just to express the idea of the proposed cut. The previous pad will be lowered once again approximately 3 to 4 feet. The idea is to push the building pad lower into the ground to lower the mass viewed from the street and from the neighboring properties. And the shaded area just visually demonstrates the grade that will be exported offsite. Overall mass and scale, the project relates well with the topography because the dwelling is sited at the previously flat graded portions, and as shown on the previous slide, the grade will be further cut down to push the mass of the two-story volume further into the ground, which will reduce the mass viewed from the street as well as the neighboring properties. The design is articulated with multiple breaks in separate volumes. It consists of a flat roof design, which is appropriate for the scale and proportions of the building. As you can see from the slide here, the roof lines vary in height, complementing the contemporary design. Materials incorporated with the design include smooth stucco painted in white, a matte black metal garage doors, glass railings, metal fascia, ceramic tile with wood-like appearance. And the windows coordinate well with the contemporary design of their use, as the use will be of a recessed nail-on with a Sierra bronze aluminum frame. Overall, encompassing with the analysis on the previous slide, staff recommends approval for the project with conditions. Just to quickly go over the conditions, the first two are general detail, or in regards to general details prior to plan check, which the first one is the new driveway shall be constructed with decorative paving such as brick, stone, or stamped concrete to enhance the appearance of the property as viewed from the street. The second one, prior to building plan check submittal, proposed locations of the light fixtures, gutters, and downspouts are to be provided on revised plans for staff review. And the third condition is a 2 to 3 foot wide planter should be constructed along each balcony edge to provide additional privacy for each neighbor by limiting each balcony's line of sight. And what that, and just for clarity and visuals, what this condition number 3 means is, as you can see on the screen here, there are 2 balconies are proposed. The first one being above at the garage, which is at the top, and at the rear, also shaded in yellow, is access from the master bedroom. And outlined in red are the neighboring properties' windows. Condition 3 is just recommended for additional privacy with these neighbors and respective to these proposed balconies. Last, condition number 4, it reads as the exposed pool wall and retaining wall should be finished with either stone, textured poured concrete, or textured decorative colored masonry block with natural color to blend into the natural hillside. And this is just the rear elevation, and highlighted or circled in red is just the areas. It just wasn't identified. Staff is just identifying that these retaining walls, which are the retaining walls and the pool walls, just be finished with the material or use materials to blend in the natural hillside. And although not a condition, this is just prior to concluding my presentation. The previous project iteration included a rooftop deck and an exterior staircase, as you can see on this rendering here. The staircase and glass railings above the second level have been removed. However, the current project still includes an elevator shaft or an elevator going up to the rooftop. So I just wanted to just point out the discrepancies between the elevations on the architectural drawings, and this is just a previous iteration of the renderings of the previous design after working with staff. So I don't believe they have the intentions of providing a roof deck up top. However, they still have an elevator going up there. So I just thought I'd point that out with the discrepancies between the renderings and the architecturals. And this concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
If I could jump in, just noticed another recommended condition we'd like to add, which is just about the color palette. White walls don't meet the hillside design guidelines, so we'd recommend a condition to revise the palette to follow the guideline recommendations.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Joe or staff?
Just a clarification, I guess, because I had noticed those stairs going up to the roof as well in the rendering, and but I just want to be clear. So is the elevator proposed still to go up all the way and have a landing on the roof?
That is correct, Board Member Welsh. I'm just pointing out that, yes, the elevator is remaining, but maybe perhaps we can talk about it with the applicant and the representative to maybe better understand. Just once again, brief history. Previous iteration, when the project was proposed, it did include the stairway, a rooftop deck with the glass railings above the second floor. Staff was just saying, we just recommended that we wouldn't be so supportive of the roof deck up top. We just recommended maybe we enhance privacy and, we would recommend removing it, but, they decided to remove it as the iterations progressed. And I thought I'd just bring this up because there is a discrepancy with the rendering, and it's pretty noticeable, so.
And the height of the house, is it measured to the top of that elevator shaft?
Yes, there are architectural drawings, 30 feet and some inches.
Okay, and that's still within limits?
That's correct. In the R1R zone, for a flat roof, it's 32 feet.
I have a follow-up question on that topic, and I had noticed those stairs as well with that rendering that's depicted on our screens at the moment that didn't match the second floor plan as far as the location of the stairs are concerned. But if the elevator is going to the roof, you probably need a second form of exit somehow. And so looking at the roof plan, I don't see where those stairs are. Or is the roof plan accurate then, as depicted on A 3.1?
I believe they are, and I think this is one of the discussion points that staff kind of wanted to talk about again with the elevator. Still remaining, and just maybe we can get some more thoughts from the applicant about maintaining the elevator.
We raised the subject specifically in if the board agrees that a roof deck is not an ideal element for this project, it's likely that the elevator would need to not go up to the roof. But if you think the roof deck is appropriate, the applicant could return those features to the design, and then the elevator will, and the second means of egress plus the elevator would be available.
And those stairs that are depicted in the rendering, so looking at the second floor plan, which is A 2.2, then would those stairs leading up to the roof deck be on the other side of bedroom number 4?
Let me pull it up on my computer here, and I'll be there in a couple seconds.
Because there's a deck below.
Correct, and
Yeah, I think you're right. That's where they would
that
be.
staircase is from the interior, and you're absolutely correct. It's on the opposite side of where it is. So there's a landing midway. One would go to the roof deck above the garage, and the other staircase would go to the second floor. And I'm going to go to that drawing just to confirm what I'm
Well,
saying
one
here.
would go to the third floor that's not depicted on the
Yeah,
plan.
on the left side of bedroom 4, that's where
Right,
the
yeah.
staircase would be.
And at the moment, the stairs that are on the right side of bedroom number 4, as depicted on sheet A 2.2, are they, I see, they're kind of covered, so they're open to the elements, but there's a canopy above them. And so, because the water will drain into that landing at 110 below.
Right.
I thought we saw a drain on one of the drawings for that landing, but I don't see it on this plan.
I see, okay. Well, we'll get to it. The other question I had was, Mr. Joe, you mentioned a nail-on. Are these aluminum windows or are these vinyl windows?
They are going to be aluminum, and I believe the description were going to be a Sierra bronze. And they do have it's a very generic window section, and I'm going to find it really quick. It's on A31.
Some of the renderings depict more of a block frame sort of a application.
Yeah, I'm looking at A31 in the window section, so there is a nailing blocking insert where the nailing fins get, where the fins get nailed into, so it would be to provide that recessed placement.
No. Because a nail-on typically signifies where it's nailed onto the face of the building.
Yeah, this detail does not show the nailing block, I don't think.
Detail 3, A31 on the bottom right.
Right.
It does say there's a 1x member nailing fin gets attached to, so there is a blocking above the framing sill.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Strange detail.
It is.
Leave
It's
it
more of
there.
a block frame detail, if that. Okay, so we could get some clarification on that. And the reason why I'm mentioning is that, for example, if we look at A 4.1 with those kind of floor-to-ceiling contemporary multi-slide doors that are depicted there, in order to kind of match that look along with some of the other, let's say, for example, even the rendering as depicted on the screen, some of these will end up being block frame windows or even storefront windows that are built in. Okay. Board Member Cascanyan, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Board Member Welsh, any other questions?
No, I
At
think
this
I'm
moment? Okay. Well, I do have one card, and it's Ms. Ani Manatsakyan. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Ani. I'm one of the designers on this project. So maybe I can provide some clarification with some of the questions. I think Mr. Joe did a really good job at presenting the project, so yeah.
Okay, well, could you speak to address to this issue of the elevator and the roof deck and what the plans are?
Yeah, so this project has been going on for a couple of years, and there's been so many different iterations having lots of back and forths with Mr. Joe. And so the owners would really like to keep the elevator having some type of access to the roof at least, both for maintenance purposes, to house the elevator motor, all of that stuff. So if we're able to keep that there, that would be great.
But the intention is not to have a roof deck, right? Or to
In the
attempt to
beginning-
build a roof deck at some later date?
No. In the beginning it was, as the render showed. We haven't updated the render since then, but they would just like to have some type of access to the roof because it is such a vast space. So yeah.
So is the idea to have access to the roof for maintenance purposes? I see. Well, if it's maintenance purposes, maybe a ship ladder of some sort on that other side of bedroom number 4 could serve that purpose to get up there, especially for maintenance purposes. Okay, because your sections don't depict the tower at the top. That's why we're kind of diving in on it. In regards to the windows, can you provide us with any additional information as to what type of windows they're going to be?
I think the drawings do, or the window schedule does say recessed nail-on, and we have done this type of installation before where the windows, we purchased them as nail-ons, but by kind of creating the opening slightly bigger with the 1-bys, we're able to attach the fin to that 1-by member within the wall cavity. But I mean, as you guys mentioned, we can do a storefront kind of installation. Of course, we want to have that recess there because to get the shadow line, all of that, it gives the facade a lot more, it makes it look more interesting. So it will be recessed.
I see. Is your framing 2x4 or 2x6?
I believe it's 2x6 because they're really high ceilings. So
I see.
it will be 2x6.
Right. If you do have 2x6, you'll have that opportunity to put the nail on there to be able to kind of create that recess, but it's tough to achieve that with 2x4s. That's why I'm asking. I see.
Could you clarify for me where on the site plan the HVAC condensers and the trash enclosures would be located?
Let me see here. I believe we're not showing that right now. I think we had a space for the trash. Oh, sorry, we do have the trash. If you look on sheet A 2.1, there's like a little kind of inlet area next to the large 16-foot garage door. That's where we would propose to keep the trash enclosures. And then as far as the HVAC, maybe in what would that be? The north, that would be the west side. So the west side behind the garage, along the west property line.
Okay. Because it looks like there's a walkway there right now. I'm not sure that there's sufficient space for that, but we can address that, I think.
Let me see here. There's like a 10 and a half foot setback there. So even with the 3.5 foot walkway, I think we'd be able to fit something there, but.
So in reference to the 3 feet of grading that's occurring at the site to lower it, was that kind of client directed, or was that just through conversations with staff that you ended up going down that route?
That was more height code regulation directed. So in order to be able to have the height that we wanted for the house, counting where the retaining walls would hit the grade, it ended up being taller than 32 inches. So 32 feet. So that's where that decision kind of came from to lower it a bit and to have it sit more, I guess, nicely with the topography in the back. Yeah, because we are 2 stories and we have single-story neighbors on either side. So.
And are you measuring to top of the parapet or top of the roof when you're measuring the 32 feet?
Well, the drawings show to top of the elevator shaft on the roof.
Yeah, A 4.2.
So what is the finished floor of the roof? The second floor roof? Well, as depicted
roof?
here on this section, right? So this top of this black section cut here, top of this fascia, is that the second deck behind bedroom number 4 as depicted on the second floor plan?
Let me see, bedroom number 4. Yeah, that's no, so the deck that's behind bedroom number 4 is top of the garage. And then we have the actual house roof, which is higher than that, which would be, let me see what this shows. We kind of updated the drawing since then. So if that deck is floor level 114, this would be 374.
Not 374.
Yeah.
So that would make it a really,
Wait,
really tall skyscraper.
I'm
But I
sorry,
understand
I'm
what you're
confused
saying.
here.
So it's 114 is the finished floor. I
The
see.
finished floor of, yeah,
124
the
maybe.
finished floor of the deck, which is also the same floor as the second floor level. And then from there, we go up to,
So the 32 feet, that's kind of where I'm getting at, is as depicted on A4.2, the 32 feet goes to the top of the 3rd floor deck, but it doesn't consist of an elevator tower, because the elevator tower that's depicted there, which is very faint, is probably another 8 feet on top of that. So that would make it 40 feet.
are you looking at the west elevation,
Yeah, I'm looking at the east elevation.
east elevation?
Well, it should be the same thing. You should be able
Yeah.
to see it from all sides.
Well, I think there's a
So-
parapet
Well,
there, too.
Yeah.
see what I'm saying is this is the elevator shaft is somewhere here,
Right,
for it to give access to here.
right.
And this is 32 feet to here. So it would have to pop up above this.
So I'm seeing 31 up to this line here, which I think is supposed to be the top of the, it's very faint, but I think it's supposed to be
I
the top of
see.
the elevator.
But I believe it
it's-
shows 31'3" to the top of the elevator shaft.
I see. You could barely read it on the drawings, I see,
Oh.
okay.
But
If you
to
look at the top one, it's a little bit clearer, but there's a taller parapet on the west side there.
Understood. Okay.
Okay, if I can ask a different question. The pool, which is at the periphery of the yard there, and looks like it's, is it intended to be like one of those infinity edge pools? Is that the goal there?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And then I guess the living room space, the great room there, it goes up the full 2 stories.
It's 2 stories, yeah.
Does it have to be 2 stories? Could it be less in that space? You know, it's a very tall pass there at that corner, and it is adjacent to that next door one-story home, as you pointed out, so.
But the neighbor that's adjacent to that side, their lot, if you go to, I don't remember, it was like A 1.2, 1.3, the one where it showed like the two adjacent neighbors. The neighbor that's adjacent to that side, their kind of flat pad of their lot is at a higher level.
I think it's 1.3.
It was, yeah. So the neighbor adjacent to the left,
I can get there, I apologize.
yeah. So yeah, they are, if we're at like 103, they're almost like 6 feet taller up their flat pad. So, I mean, the height difference isn't that drastic between the neighbor's single story and then our 2-story over here. But I mean, having that great room had kind of been around since the very beginning, the first initial sketches that we had. So the owners really, really like that. And the property has like an almost like 270-degree view of Glendale. You can see all the way to downtown. So they really wanted to utilize kind of the glazing to be able to get that view, so.
No, I get it, and I would want to do it too. I'm just not sure if it needs to be a full 2 stories height, you know. You could still get the same effect with something
Yeah,
that's,
get greatness without having it be,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Cascagna, do you have any other questions?
No questions.
So, well, the question, again, I had just as a recap was, the intent is to have access to that roof for maintenance purposes. That's your primary intent. I see. And if the elevator were not to go to the 3rd floor and not provide access to the 3rd floor, does it need to still have a tower? And if so, how big of a tower would you need?
Well, if the elevator isn't going up there, then I don't see why we would have to have that tower up there. That's the thing, so.
Would you still need something, a few feet, or for the mechanism? Or is it a hydraulic one where you're digging in and
We
you're
haven't
putting?
looked into that fully at this point, but I mean, I would imagine if the motor is going to be housed up there, maybe we would need 3 feet, 4 feet,
Yeah.
about, yeah.
That's what I'm getting at, yeah. Okay. Is this a design-build project, or is this a design project where somebody else is gonna build it?
It might be design build, depending on what our clients decide afterwards.
I see, okay,
But we can build it too, it's not a problem.
I see, okay. Well, thank you. Well, I don't think there's any more questions, so thank you for bearing with us, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any other speakers on this project. Is there anybody else that has called in?
We have no callers.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and close the public portion. Board Member, well, who would like to start us off on this?
You want to start us off? Okay, so generally speaking, I'm okay with the project. I appreciate the fact that you did that's cut to lower the elevation. I think that had you not done that, it would certainly have been a concern of mine, the extent to which it was much more prominent on the property. So I appreciate the fact that you did that, and even though it's a substantial amount of cut, but I still think that it's for the benefit of the project overall, and especially in keeping it in context with the surrounding community. I think that my big concern would be that elevator shaft and going up to the roof. I don't think that it's necessary, and knowing the cost of elevators these days, I think adding a 3rd floor just for maintenance purposes doesn't necessarily make a lot of financial sense, so I would prefer that we condition that it not go up onto the roof, because I don't think that a roof deck would be an appropriate application at this location. I think that there's already substantial access to the views, 2nd-story balconies. I think that you've got plenty of ability to take advantage of the site and the views that are there without having to go and have a big rooftop party deck. I don't know whether anyone else will be along with me on that. I would like to think of the mass of that living room section be lowered down a little bit. I don't think it needs to be a full double-story height. The ceiling heights are already quite tall. And so creating this 20-foot tall room, I don't think it needs to be that tall. But I'll, hear what other people have to say about that. But generally speaking, I think I agree with Jay's comment about the color scheme. I think it is a little stark. I do like the design generally. I think it's well executed. The materials choices I think are fine. I think, in these modern designs, I think a storefront kind of look is really what people go for nowadays, to have that maximal view. So I don't really oppose that. It's a personal preference thing. But from the street perspective, I think the design is well done. I think it's broken up nicely. I don't think it's overwhelmingly massive from the front. I think it's really only on that one corner that addresses that neighboring property to, I guess that would be the west. Yeah, the west. So those are my comments, generally speaking. I think that I would support the project with the conditions that we've talked about. And, we'll see what other people think about that living room height. So, that's it.
Thank you, Board Member Welch. Board Member Cascania?
Thank you. Overall, I really like the design of the house, and I agree. I do like how there's a cut in the house, bringing it down. I don't have an issue with the living room per se. I think it actually looks really nice and modern. And yeah, I think overall, I think the house is really good. I support it.
Thank you, Board Member Cascania. I think the project is well designed as well. I really appreciate all the renderings that came into it, because it is a complex design with the roof canopies and the cantilevers, etc. And I believe as though the renderings helped me at least to get a better understanding of what was going on. There was a point where I was confused with the stairs leading in the rendering as depicted leading to the roof, whereas I couldn't find it on the plans, but I'm glad that Mr. Joe was able to shed some light on that. Overall, in this context, I agree with Board Member Welch in that a roof deck is not appropriate. I feel as though there's plenty of backyard, and already we're creating a grading issue within this cul-de-sac of lowering it 3 feet, and I would imagine it is decomposed granite, and it is going to be bedrock, and so there's going to be quite a bit of work going on in that street, and so it's just a lot of inconvenience for that little cul-de-sac. But what that does is it achieves a bigger yard, it achieves a bigger footprint, and with the infinity pool and the multiple decks, I feel as though the house is already achieving quite a bit, and so I don't think a roof deck is appropriate in this setting, even though I'm a big believer in them, and I'm a modernist at heart. In this setting, I feel as though there's enough of an opportunity for outdoor area where a roof deck is not appropriate, whereas it's more appropriate in settings that it's more confined, you don't have as much space, and so in order to achieve that, you go to a roof deck. I do think that it would make sense for us to condition 2x6 framing in order to follow up with that thought process of having these recessed windows be nail-on, because they would, I think, look not as refined with 2x4 framing, and it's probably going to end up being 2x6 anyways, but I think that would be a good condition, because we typically have a lot more details on windows, especially in these kind of complicated scenarios, and it's very light in that aspect. And so I feel as though if we add that condition, we'll be able to kind of achieve what's depicted in these drawings. Site plan and orientation wise, I think it's well designed and well located. As depicted on that section of 1.3, on sheet 1.3, A1.3, and depicting the left and right properties and the paths. Initially, I had some concerns as well, Board Member Welch, about that second story. But after the applicant pointed out the fact that on the left side, after the 3 feet of grading, there's such a big difference between the two paths. I feel as though it's not as intrusive on the property next door. But I do think the roof deck is just the wrong idea. I think you will need access for maintenance purposes. I think the money that you're gonna be spending improving that roof deck for walking purposes is going to be just completely an overkill. And so I would give it some slope. I would try to drain it well, and I do think you'll need some sort of a ship ladder, maybe on the other side of bedroom number 4, that will allow maintenance folks to get up there, such as your solar company and such as, your roof repair guys, et cetera, because you got a lot of roof up there. But I would really simplify that roof and give it some slope so you're not dealing with a ton of waterproofing issues down the line. And I would not want all these maintenance folks going through the house to sit in an elevator and go up to work on the solar panels. So I think it's better to kind of applicant stating where they want that ship ladder to go at an appropriate location. But overall, I think it's well thought out and well designed with good materials, and it'll be a nice design. And maybe Mr. Plant could go over those conditions again
Sure.
for us to move on.
Okay, we're going to delete the elevator at the roof level from the proposal. We'll work with the applicant to provide some other means of access, a ship ladder, or perhaps a scuttle or some other way to get up there at an appropriate location, which may probably not be much of an issue for us because it'll be at the interior, but we'll make sure there's no issues there. It was a 2-to-1 about the lowering of the mass of the living room, so I believe we'll leave the mass or the height of the living room where it is proposed. We're going to keep the additional condition about the hillside guidelines regarding the color. And then in terms of the windows, we're going to ask that there be 2x6 framing throughout the project so that the window placement, will have a recessed appearance for the windows that'll fit the overall design.
And do you want to build in some flexibility just in case if they do need a couple of feet of elevator shaft popping up, and how would that?
Sure, yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll, a modest bulkhead.
Modest, it's like a
as
2 feet or
required
3 feet for
the
a motor.
elevator.
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
everything I've got.
Does someone have a motion?
I'll move to approve the project with those stated conditions, including, of course, the original conditions provided by staff and supplemented.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion by Board Member Welsh and a second by Board Member Gasconian. This will be roll call. Board Member Gasconian,
Yes?
Board Member Welsh,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair Simonia.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
Good luck. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there were some of these letters that just came in today. So I haven't
Right.
seen them earlier. So.
Might be a good time to look at them, right? Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chair and Design Review Board members. This next case is for 2667 Bogue Drive. And this is a proposal to demolish the existing fire damaged single-family house at the property and construct a new two-story, approximately 3,150 square foot single-family dwelling. The project was recently reviewed by the Design Review Board and returned for redesign with a number of conditions. The project is coming back, and I'm going to focus my presentation on the conditions from the Design Review Board and how they've been addressed, and additional staff conditions. Staff's recommendation for the project is approval with conditions. So if we can move forward, what I did with the PowerPoint slides, there are initially the slides initially point to the context of the project, then the new plans follow, and following that, it's a listing of the Design Review Board conditions and with little graphics as to how they've been addressed. And following that, I inserted the previously reviewed plans for reference in case there's a question, and then staff's recommendation with the new conditions. So if we can move forward. The location of the property is at the corner of Bogue Drive and Pasa Glen and Mira Vista. The property slopes up, and there's an existing pad that was put there when the property was subdivided for development. The proposal makes use of that existing flat pad, and it's an upsloping lot. An aerial view from Google, the red dot marks the property. Street view from Google. A topo map from the city's GIS system. And before we start going through the slides, I would like to point out that since this is a new house with the existing house being demolished, with respect to zoning standards, there are no grandfather rights. So the existing development doesn't maintain its non-conforming rights. So even if there are features of the existing development that are going to be maintained, they have to comply with current zoning standards. So here is the perspective of the revised project. Site plan. The project still makes use of the existing driveway location to access a new two-car garage in the same general location of the existing garage. Cut and fill map. And on this map, it can be seen that the cut and fill area is limited to just the area to the west of the driveway. In the past, the cut and fill location extended along the north property line, where the oak trees on the neighboring property are located. Roof plan. And if I may scroll down to the conditions, and a lot of the questions will be addressed through those conditions. In case if it's necessary, we can go back to these slides. Okay, Conditions from the design review board's return for redesign decision. The first condition is to modify the boxiness of the proposed design and to make it less boxy, and some suggestions were put in the condition. What happened is on the left side is the previous plans, on the right side is the current, the revised perspective. The previous plan had a flat roof with a proposed roof deck on portions of the roof. Through the suggestions, the roof has been changed now to a pitch roof, gable, with two ridge levels. There's one ridge level on the main portion of the house and a lower ridge level on the garage portion with a bedroom on top. So this ends up softening the design of the building substantially. The second condition was to step the building with the topography by pulling back the projecting decks. As you can see between the previous plan on the left, or the previous front elevation, and the revised on the right, the deck over the first floor facing the street was projecting forward. Now it's been redesigned to project back further in. And this, together with the pitch roof of the design, gives the impression or the sense that the building is sloping with the topography as opposed to projecting out. Condition 3 was to eliminate the roof deck over the second floor and access stairs to it. The roof deck has been entirely eliminated along with the stairs, exterior stairs leading to it. Restudy the facades and redistribute the cladding material to help break up the building volume. The materials have been revised. As you can see on the revised plans on the right, there's a tower element on the left side, black tower element, vertical element that has been eliminated. And at that location, on the second floor, the building is notched in, or actually recedes. So the entire tower element is eliminated. The material is better distributed. On the right, we can see brown wood cladding, which is not apparent on the left on the previous plans. So the distribution of the materials has improved. And continuing to the condition number 5 was to reduce the height of the fascias at the first and second floor. The fascia boards have been reduced in height. They are less bulky, and the color has been also toned down. Instead of white and black, the present color is a bronze color. Condition 6 is to use a more muted color palette and reduce the white stucco with earth and substitute with earth tones. The white stucco color has been changed to a more tan color stucco. Condition 7 was to restudy the roof line to break up its uniformity, and possibly through introduction of a different roof form. And this has been done by changing the flat roof to a pitch roof, and we talked about this earlier also. Condition 8 is to simplify the fenestration. The fenestration has been somewhat simplified. As you can see, the front facade, which is the lower facade on the previous plans, compared to the front facade of the revised plans, you see that the fenestration has been simplified, and this happens also throughout the building. Condition 9 is to review and design the area at and around the driveway for the required sidewalk. This area has not been redesigned. It remains the way it was initially reviewed. On the left side, I included a couple of Google photos. The top one is a street view which shows the existing driveway approach and the development features around it. There's an existing power pole very close by, a retaining wall. The bottom one is a top view, is an aerial view. On the right is a detail from the new plans. There is labeling that there's going to be a sidewalk easement around the driveway approach. I've contacted the Public Works Engineering Division, which required this condition. This is an ADA requirement, and it's beyond the purview of the Design Review Board, and this will be required. So the requirement will be, I'm not sure if the driveway approach, as it exists, will be code compliant, but as a minimum, the sidewalk must continue around the driveway approach. So I'm just pointing this out, and it's a federal ADA requirement. Condition 10 was to review the accuracy of the cross sections on sheet number A13. To the left are the previous cross sections. To the right are the revised ones. Staff doesn't see. Staff still thinks this is hard to interpret, and we're not sure if they are accurate in terms of depicting the scale between the subject house and the neighboring houses, even in a diagrammatic fashion. Condition 11 was to review the consistency between the cut and fill plan and other plans. On the right is the current cut and fill plan. If you look at, there's a wall that defines the edge of the path towards the front, and that wall is segmented, polygonal. To the left is a detail from the current plan. If we look closely, that segmental wall is grayed out on the current plan, and there's another wall being proposed as a retaining wall. The cut and fill plan doesn't show anything with respect to this, but if we look closely, that new wall, given the contour lines, would end up probably supporting a 10-foot or so retaining wall, just the retaining portion. We put this in the staff report. We're not sure which one is accurate, but if the plan on the left, the detail from the site plan is accurate, then there's going to be a 10-foot retaining wall to extend the deck or the flat pad, which goes against the design guidelines in terms of filling to create flat pads or flat decks. As I mentioned earlier, the cut and fill plan limits or shows cut and fill, in very limited cut and fill around to the west of the driveway, and no other cut and fill. These are somewhat mundane conditions, and there was no need to attach graphics to it. Condition 12 was to correct the plans to reflect the upward slope on the north side. This has been done. I cannot speak to the accuracy, but the revised plan shows a change there. Number 13 is to provide specifications regarding the walls along the sidewalk and at the top of the slope. This wall has been specified with tan colored stone, and it's shown as detail number 1 on sheet M1, which is the material board. Condition 14 is to provide specifications regarding the planter walls between the walkway and the driveway. Again, tan color stone has been specified. If the board wishes, I can go back to the material material board and point out to the stones. Condition 15 is to specify permeable paving materials for the paved areas, and permeable pavers are specified on the plans without further specification beyond this. And 16 is to specify the location for the exterior mechanical equipment and the trash storage. The trash storage has been specified on the plan. It's along the north side. The mechanical equipment location is not specified, but that can be arranged. Let me go back to on the right side, the panel on the right side here, the top left insert shows the proposed stone material for the garden walls and retaining walls and the walls of the planters next to the driveway. Having said this, I'd like to conclude my presentation unless there are questions from the board and the project applicant is in the audience. Maybe they can shed also some light on some of the details. In terms of recommended conditions, the condition 1 is to show the location and specifications of all retaining walls accurately. Condition 2 is to review the consistency between the cut and fill plan and other plans and to revise as necessary. 3 is to review and design the area at and around the driveway for the required sidewalks. Condition 4, the landscape plan has to be stamped by a licensed landscape architect. It's not stamped. The previous one was stamped, but not this one, and they look similar. Condition 5 is there were skylights shown on the details, but not shown on the rest of the plans, and this is for consistency, to require consistency. So condition 6 is to specify the location of the exterior mechanical equipment, and condition 7 is to specify the location of the downspouts. There are a couple of downspouts shown on the elevation, but they don't relate to the gutters or what roof sections they are supposed to drain. And this is a pretty mundane thing which can be done relatively easily. So I'd like to conclude after this, unless there are questions from the board.
Thank you. Do we have questions for staff? I have just a couple of quick questions, Mr. Buck again. With the material board that you had up on the screen, can you zoom in on the revised one? Is it possible to zoom into it? Because the set that I have, the colors are kind of hard to see, but
Sure.
you had a nice...
Before we get there, I forgot to mention we received some correspondence emails which we forwarded to the design review board members.
Yeah, we
and
have
to the
them.
project, yes.
Thank you for clarifying that.
There were a number of them going both ways, in support and in opposition.
You
So-
passed it, it was earlier.
I passed it, yeah, you're right.
Probably the fourth or fifth slide.
No, it's supposed to be in here.
Yeah, I saw it a second ago.
Correct. That's a few more. Keep on going.
Yeah, it was the before and the after.
Correct,
Here we
right
go.
there. Yes.
Yeah.
Can you zoom in on the right side, if you may?
Can we zoom in on this?
Not possible.
No? Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, this is it. Through the PowerPoint, maybe over the, yeah.
And while they're doing that, in regards to the retaining wall you were pointing out, if it does end up being a 10-foot retaining wall, though, could they do 2 retaining walls with distance between them to satisfy zoning code at that point?
Possibly, but we don't know until we see it in the design.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I see. Well, maybe during the your presentation, you could focus in on that. If it's too difficult, Ms. Civititis, let's not worry about it.
doesn't have the capability,
You have to get out of the slideshow, go to the individual slide, and then that will have.
yes.
It's
At the
not that
bottom,
important.
It's not transferring
But it's
to
not
the,
transferring to
I'll take a picture and zoom in on it. That's fine. That's all right. And, oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you have
if
to
you
get
would
out
just
of the
pan
slideshow.
down a bit.
Which one did you want?
Oh, I just wanted to get a sense of it. See. And,
So this would be the revised on the screen.
Okay.
And then if you needed to see
no, we don't, need-
original,
I don't need to see the original. I was just more interested in the proposed. I see. Very nice. Okay. And I believe it was the third condition, Mr. Bakhtigan, you had a comparison of the decks between the first version and the current version. Can you pull that up? Because I was trying to zoom in on it and get a better sense of it.
This one?
Yes. And so on the left side, on the previous design, there was a deck behind the garage and also on the right side of the garage that's been eliminated.
Yes.
I
you're
see.
correct.
And also on the previous version, there was a large front deck kind of facing the street, which has been reduced in size. Is that still a deck or is it just kind of a canopy now?
That's a balcony or deck over the first floor, accessible from the second story bedroom there.
I see. So it's about half the size. Okay.
It's been reduced with a planter in front of it. We commented in the staff report about the access and the practicality of maintaining that planter. There's a similar planter over the garage between the front portion of the roof of the garage and the bedroom above it. It shows on the renderings as a little narrow strip of
I see it.
planting. So we commented on
And-
the practicality of maintaining it.
Yes, and on the left side, on the previous version, was there a deck also behind the living area as well, or is that just a dimension?
There was a little balcony on the west side, and there's still a little balcony on the west side. But what you're probably seeing as deck is a trellis between the two floors.
I see. Okay. Okay, thank you. Those are the questions I had. Do we have any other questions for staff at this point? No? Very good, so we'll start the public portion. First speaker is the applicant and designer, Mr. Benlian. Welcome.
Good evening, Sevan Benlian. Good evening, Chairman Simonian, Board Member Walsh, and Board Member Kasakian. Thank you so much for having us tonight. I think I want to thank Chris Bakhtigan because he did all the heavy lifting for tonight. I think he did a good job presenting the conditions that were assigned to us during our last meeting, I think almost 12 months ago, and we've addressed all of them, and we have no problem addressing the additional conditions that staff is proposing. In terms of the design, this project has been a very difficult one because for 4 years the applicant has been trying to get this burnt house redesigned. And they had a previous designer, and they've gone for 2 years and didn't get anywhere. And then they hired me, and then I started the process, and it was during COVID, and so city staff were short, and there's like multiple other things. So they've been really struggling for 4 years to get this house going. The entire neighbors surrounding this property. There's one neighbor, I think, in opposition, but most other neighbors, we've collected their signatures, they're in support of the project, and they're tired of looking at this burned, boarded up house. It's affecting the resale value of their homes. It's creating a lot of other issues for them. And they've been actually calling city attorney and urging the city to like push the applicant to get the project designed, approved, and built ASAP. So in terms of the design, I think we've done major changes to address the bulk and the mass of this project. And even though initially we thought we had a pretty good design and we were adamant that we wanted that kind of like black and white and the very boxy look, right now that we have this design, we kind of like thank staff that they pushed us in that direction, because I think the project got better. It looks better. The mass above the roof, above the garage, had dropped substantially, breaking up, going to a sloped roof versus it relates more to the hill, so that's also softening the design overall. The material and colors, I think, blends better with the hillside, so definitely better choice than the black and white. Overall, I think we've done window. They got all redesigned, so and the client kind of likes the new version. And overall, we're just eager to get this thing approved so we can move forward and get this guy submit to building and safety and get this approved ASAP so we can start building this project to bring this family back together. Over the past 4 years, they're a large family and they've been like living in 2 separate places because they don't have one place where they all can live together. So it's been really difficult, emotional process for the applicant, but obviously we understand that there was so much going on beyond everybody's control. But I'm happy to answer any questions. Couple things I would like to touch on: no retaining walls in the back, so that's a discrepancy. So the initial thing we did when we got this project is we wanted to eliminate. I know most neighbors and most surrounding areas, their main concern is when you're doing a project on the hillside is grading. You know, you want to limit grading, you want to limit the trucks in and out, you want to limit all that noise and all that. Nobody likes that stuff next door. So we started with the project with the fact that we want to kind of keep the project sitting on the same exact footprint to where the existing project sits, and that's where it got designed. So it's away from the oaks. It's not near the oaks, and that's basically the idea. So the back, we're not touching the back, so no retaining walls over there. Any other questions? I'll be happy to answer.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Board Member Walsh?
Thank you. On the roof material, I didn't see it called out in the material board. Is it
it's a metal. It's a
standing seam
it's a
metal?
standing seam metal.
With the color same as the fascia boards?
Exactly. It's with the color close to like a little more earthy, close to brown, so it blends in with the surroundings.
Okay. And what about this comment about these planters? They are kind of inaccessible, and they might tend to become more of a maintenance issue.
I mean, the owner did really like greenery, and he really wanted to have something to where there's plants and there's just to make the place looks lively. And I don't think. I mean, major maintenance can happen from down below, but like to water them or anything like that, you can do it from the actual balcony. We've done them before. We had no issues.
And do you know where in the plans those skylights are referenced, or there's no skylights?
No skylights. This is from the previous design. Yeah.
Okay. And then finally, the solar panels are on the north-facing slope of the roof rather than the south-facing slope. Is that?
So the solar panels, they were just there for like the rendering purpose, or whoever the drafter that added will do a full solar study before putting them on. Of course.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
In regards to the existing oaks, kind of separating this project from the neighborly project, where we received all the emails and correspondence, are you encroaching, or will you be going into the drip line in any way with any part of this construction?
No, the arborist, the report, there is an arborist report, and they saw no issues with the project. And it was also, I believe, Chris reviewed by our city arborist, and he concurs that our site plan works and we're not going near them. And in regards to those correspondence, actually, I might ask Mr. Bogdikan if he can pull up some photos, because I saw the neighbor right next to the project talking about study sun and the shades and all that stuff. And I found that to be, when I heard that, I couldn't believe it, because that entire house is covered by tree canopies that are way higher and way larger than the poles. And I have like few photos that I brought just for you guys to see it in case you didn't make it up there. Can we pull them up? Oh, Lydia's picking it. I mean, once you see the photos, you'll understand what I'm saying. This is the trees, this is the poles. I mean, if you go to the next picture, this is what we're talking about. Like the other house, you barely can see anything. Those trees are, you see, like trees are way above these. So I don't know. Even when you look at this Google image, you can see the canopy of trees. I mean, you can't even see the house from the trees. So I completely.
Can we go back one
Yeah.
picture, if we may?
And I completely.
One more? And one more? And one more? So there's about a 30, almost a 25-foot dimension from the existing roof to the top of the tree canopy.
Maybe more.
I see.
And I completely sympathize with like neighbors, and I get nobody wants a project built next door to them. And if it was my house and somebody is proposing a brand new house next to me, of course nobody wants the sound, all the inconvenience that comes with construction. But at the same time, we can't really deny the property owner the right to build and live in his house peacefully, just because a neighbor doesn't want it. You know?
And how long ago was this property boarded up, do you know?
It's been burned for over 4 years. And my client has been contacted by the Glendale city attorney, threatening actually criminal charges because he hasn't built the house. And our reply to them was, we're in the process. It's just been, we're getting nowhere.
Do we, any more questions for Mr. Bellion at this point? No? Thank you, Mr. Bellion. You'll have an opportunity for a rebuttal at the end if you so choose. Next, well, I have two cards from the ownership. One is Aram Manukyan and the other one is Gevork Manukyan. Who would like to go first? State your name for the record, please.
Good evening, Board Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity for I can come up and discuss, share with my other situation.
Your name for the record?
Oh, so sorry, Aram Manukyan.
Thank you.
And I cannot go into professional detail like our architect did and Mr. Badikian, but I can just explain. I mean, you can see it more than 4 years we are in this situation. We don't have a house and we kind of separated and living a different location than weekends getting together with the family. Plus, I'm not talking about this also most important part, which is financial thing, where we are struggling, second architect, and all these things going on. Plus, like our architect, Sevan, he brought it up to our attention for city attorneys, keep calling us, keep sending the letters, because so many other neighbors, they don't want to see that burned house over there, and they want to kind of build an area and put a new building, which I have almost more than 15, 18 signatures and I talked with them individually. Otherwise, I don't know. If you want, if not gonna be approved, let's bring it down and put some chickens, kind of like other neighbors has, so can have the chickens thing. And what can we do? Middle of Glendale, let's make some farm and come on to grow the chickens over there. We're trying to build environment nice, and damage happen, catastrophe happening, and we are in a situation where we can build it and bring the neighborhood in a nice, good, kind of new building. And I'm kind of nervous a little bit, but so this is it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Gevorg Manukian. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good evening. My name is Gevorg Manukian. I was a resident at 2667 Bogey Drive. It's kind of emotional. It's kind of hard at the same time to speak up on behalf of not only myself and my family, but this is a house, this was the area, these are the streets that that I grew up on. And being separated from my family, me living in even a different city, seeing my family only on the weekends is kind of hard. So I feel like I'm really amazed with the changes we've done, being proposed to it, seeing it from my family standpoint, and I love it as well. And we're both all impatiently waiting to move forward, and I feel like what we have going on is amazing. I love it from an owner standpoint. But other than that, I would love for us to all reunite under one household, and that'll be amazing. If there's any other questions, I can answer my best of my abilities. But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Linda Conover. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for this time. My name is Linda Conover. I live at 2659 Bow Drive, which is the property directly on the east side of the Manukian's property. The home has been boarded up for 6 years after the fire in January of 2017. And just to clarify, nothing would give me more pleasure than to see this property moved on rather than to be looking at a boarded up property for these many years. And I do not have any concern regarding the construction and the noise and the inconvenience. That's just part of the deal when there's new construction. But I do have concerns regarding their proposed plans concerning privacy and the footprint of the house in the neighborhood. I actually sent 2 emails to Mr. Badikian, I think it was, and I, in reference to slide number 13A and the proposed plans, and in this slide, it's, my home is very grossly misrepresented. Our homes are similar in size, in square footage. However, I don't know if you can see that slide, and it was a slide that,
13A.
13A.
So this is in the plans?
In the
is that correct?
plans.
Yes. Double check and
And-
see. Chris,
and-
do you have the plans available online?
I have them here, but
If you start the slideshow, I can go to it.
Yeah, you
8:13.
referenced it. Yes, he referenced it. It's in the, is
If
it
you
in the
want the
slideshow? The
I
slideshow?
can
Yes.
forward. Yeah, this is 13.
No. Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, that's,
Okay, the
Yellow.
bottom, okay, in the first, the middle portion there, you can see the outline of my house behind the proposed project, and it's huge. My home is not that size. My home is in similar square footage, and it's a 1-story. Also at the bottom, and my understanding of this visual is that it's a representation of the visual from the proposed project to my home. And it's very misrepresented with the slope of the property between the houses. The slope between the property of the houses here is more of a flat surface, whereas in reality, it's a very steep incline. And so it appears in this drawing that our houses are much more separate than they really are in the physical space. Because if there's a slope, it's going to bring the property closer together, of course. And that directly affects the lines of vision that they show depicted here. First I'm assuming it's from the window on the east side of the house, of that bedroom above the garage, and there's like, I think 3 little lines that I think are to represent the sight from that window into my home. And it appears that from that window, you would just be seeing the ground of my house. You wouldn't even be seeing into a room. And in actuality, and I actually sent a picture today that I took standing from my property line, or my fence and my property, a picture of the flags on the garage roof. And the flags, you can see, I'm standing here, and the flags are a good 6 feet higher than I am. So the whole perspective here is that that structure is so much lower, or that second floor is so much lower than my home, and it really isn't. And the physical proximity is very misrepresented. The impact of that garage bedroom on my home is, I don't know, it's just incredible. Because from that, even though I know there's a small window they've put there, just visually, you're looking into my dining room, my sunroom, and my backyard. And along the same lines with that front deck, which is very large. Actually, yes, it's been scaled down, but it's still a very large living area, and that's what it will be. It will be an extension of their living area. And visually, you are seeing directly into my living room. And I don't know how else to explain this to you unless you come and physically stand there. Because I think on a hillside sloped area, the representations of drawings or renditions are very misleading because of the slope, because the slope brings your house closer together. And what I'm sorry?
I'm so sorry. Would you like us to bring up your email to show the photo?
Of me standing there?
The photo, the photo, if you'd like, we do have the
Yes,
email,
just the
if you'd
photo.
like,
Yeah,
just the
I don't want
photo.
the email.
And Ms.
No, but the
Zimatitis,
photo.
Yeah, the photo, that's
Ms.
fine.
Zimatitis, the time is running, right?
The time.
Is that, we have 3 minutes. Okay.
Okay, then, that's fine, if you, yeah. Are you going to bring it up, or no?
To bring it up, just to clarify that point, but yes, the time is up, actually.
And I also have concerns on the flags, because according to what a rendition that this gentleman showed earlier, it appeared that on that second floor bedroom.
Can you wrap it up in the next 15 seconds? Because I have to be fair on everyone's time.
Okay.
If we have questions, we could ask
That's basically
questions.
is my concern, is the misrepresentation of the proximity, and also slides 14 and 15A, which I understand are not mandatory for the board, but which I want to say, they do not, it's interesting because they do not show the east side perspective of the house, which is my
Thank
side.
you, miss. I believe you're about 2 minutes over. I'm sorry.
you.
This is
Thank
the photo.
You could leave us with this photo. We'll look at it. Thank you. Before I call the next speaker, Ms. Zimatitis, on Mr. Baltigian's presentation slides, there was a picture about 2 slides before, I believe, from that site section we were looking at. I'm wondering if you could pull that up real quick, just for my knowledge. no, if you would go.
Continue.
Yeah, it was an existing picture, yeah, there. So is the house on the right? Is that where the last speaker lives, is the house
Yes.
on the right?
I believe that's correct.
I see. So between, just the way this is looking, there's probably about a 15-foot difference between the driveway elevation and that pad. Just for our knowledge, I thought that was kind of, I saw you skim through that very quickly, but I noticed that in the presentation. Okay. Next speaker is Shanna Bonston. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good evening. I do think that photo is a little distorted because of the wide angle. My name is Shauna Bonston.
Thank you.
I have been a city planner for 21 years, more than 21 years, and I do regret to spend the board's time and staff time and city resources on a single-family home discussion, but given that Glendale does regulate hillside design review, including shade and view impacts, I'm here to ask that the new structure be a little bit more context sensitive. I'm very grateful for the work that has been done. I live adjacent to the project at 1818 Passaglen Drive. I did submit a letter. I did also submit a shade shadow analysis, and I have copies here. Presuming that you have seen them. Our house is resource number 133 on the Glendale Register of Historic Resources. The project proposed is designed with a sheer two-story rear facade adjacent to our home. We are requesting modifications to the design of the house to minimize the towering impact over our property as we are downslope and on their north side. I would like to note, we do have a lot of trees. I think we have 8 oak trees on our property. They are tall, and the canopy is well above our house, and it's above even part of the proposal for the other house, because the trees are very close to their property, which it's sloped. I'm glad I can use my hands as a visual here. So the ridge line is in between, is at our property line. So the trees are there, and they are very tall. They have some shade, but not as much as you would expect. And one of my pictures was from our kitchen window that shows, in fact, we get quite a bit of daylight that comes in under the tree canopy. We did commission an architect to better understand the impacts of the house onto our light and the height of the home. That came out of the discussion from last year when we were told that our property, our building height was the same as the proposal, and that we would have no impact. So we were trying very hard to describe, because the elevation change and the hillside is so difficult to comprehend and to describe. So we asked for a shade shadow study to better understand that. As you can see, our house is heavily shaded into the morning, into the living room, kitchen, and our daughter's bedroom, and the garden remains shaded through the day. We are very concerned with that condition number 10, which is the same visual that was raised before, about the visuals being inaccurate. And I ask that you refer to my submitted letter and the visuals that indicate some of the undue impacts not in keeping with the hillside design standards. So again, like correcting for the record, basically that neighborhood cross section, it does not accurately show our house. It makes it look like our lot is flat and that our house is much larger than it is. As well, the arborist report denotes oak tree number 3 is a multi-trunk tree, but in fact, it is 4 distinct trees in a grouping that has been confirmed by an arborist on our property. As you know, DRB decisions related to development in the R1R zones shall incorporate the hillside development review policy contained in Glendale's code. My letter outlines several deficiencies with compliance to that code section. The development is supposed to be compatible with surrounding neighborhood in terms of size, scale, bulk, and mass. The adjacent homes here are a mix of styles. We are open to any style that wants to be proposed. We would be very grateful to have the burned out building replaced with a development. That's not the issue. It really is that the majority of them are single story, and there are no examples of sheer 2-story facades adjacent to other residences in the neighborhood. A 2nd-story house was proposed and denied by the DRB in the year 2000. No circumstances in the neighborhood have changed since then, other than our house being designated historic. The project would be compatible with the mid-century homes throughout the neighborhood if it were one story. There's 11,900 square foot lot that we feel can entirely accommodate the square footage of the home on a single level. We're surprised to see that of the flat pad of 4,161 square feet previously graded is in addition to the footprint. So there's a huge amount of
And
area
that
that's
was the
just flat pad.
time limit, if you would wrap it up in 10, 15 seconds, if you would, please.
Our home is in the R1R zone. We have 10 windows, a slider glass, and the edge of a balcony that directly face us 10 to 20 feet higher than our kitchen windows, living room windows, and daughter's window. These are privacy views that are protected by the design review standards. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you.
and we appreciate
you.
it.
Next speaker is Philip Bonston. Welcome.
Thank you very much. My name is Philip Bonston. I also own, with my lovely wife, 1818 Paso Glen Drive, the property immediately to the north of the proposed new construction. I can't really say anything as eloquently as my wife did. I'm not a city planner. However, I will say that this will be a profound impact on the usability of our property and the enjoyment of our property, including our children's enjoyment of this property. While we would love to have this eyesore removed from the neighborhood, it really doesn't feel like replacing it with another eyesore is going to accomplish that in any sort of reasonable manner. Yeah, I guess that's, I want to thank you for your time. That's about all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Bellion, would you like to have an opportunity? Oh, I apologize.
Yes, we actually have two callers at this time. The first caller is, forgive me, I'm not sure if this is Luris Maluk. Luris Maluk, you're live on the air with the Design Review Board.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, how are you doing?
Yes, hi, you're live on the air with the Design Review Board, and if you don't mind, after you speak, if you could spell your name for us, please, we would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, it's Luis, L-R-A-S, Maluk, M-A-L.
All right. Yes, thank you.
U-A-H, Maluk.
Okay, thank you very much.
Should I continue this?
Yes.
Awesome.
Please proceed.
First of all, honestly speaking, I just have one question, and that question will be addressed directly to the Mr. Christopher Walsh. I just have one question to him. Why is he wearing two watches?
One is a Fitbit.
That's very interesting to me. I've never seen that.
I don't think we've ever had a caller call in and ask about a board member's attire either. So it's a first on both accounts.
I would have gone straight to the bow tie, but that's me.
I've never seen a person actually do that. Is it some cultural thing or?
I'm not sure, but sir, would you like to proceed with your comments on the case?
Yeah, clock's running.
Honestly, I don't really have any comments on the case in particular. It just appeared to me very weird to have two watches.
We appreciate.
I thought maybe he forgot to take one off.
We appreciate the humor, sir, but we really ask that you focus in on the case at the moment. So do you have any more comments on the subject case at 2667 Bogue Drive?
I actually do. Let me just think more. Give me more time. Actually, yes. I do have one question regarding the second speaker who made a complaint about a structure being too high and covering her kitchen. I just Googled their property, and through Google View, I saw that their house is two-story. It's a two-story house itself. So I'm not quite sure where the complaint is coming from. While they're having two-story house and they're complaining about another house, which is also two-story. It just appears to me like a selfish move, you know?
Are there any more comments, sir?
Well, not really. No, that's it.
Thank you for your time.
Of course.
Mr. Matias, before we go to the next speaker, can you drop the street view right between the two properties, our subject property and the property to, right next to it, correct? And can you pan down a bit towards the power pole along the street? Just a bit more with the arrow? No, I mean literally walk down the street. Oh, yes.
Yes. I'm not sure if GTV6 is picking up the street view image that we're showing on the screen.
Okay.
Looks
Thank
like
you.
they're not.
Do we have, I believe we have another caller, correct?
We do. Armin Barsigian. Armin Barsigian, you're live on the air with the Design Review Board.
Hello?
Hello, yes, you're live on the air with the Design Review Board.
Okay. My name is Armin Barsagian, and I am the owner of 2658 Bogue Drive, which is directly across the street from the house on 2667 Bogue. Only 5 years ago, I got a phone call from a board-up company that said my house was on fire. So I rushed home and saw that it was not my house, but my neighbor's house. Anyway, fast forward about 5 years, it's still a burnt-up, boarded-up mess. Now you have a bunch of people who are just dumping trash on the curb because it looks like an abandoned house, which is affecting the whole street and neighbors. Seems like many people have opinions on this house, but the truth is they don't live next to or across the street from the property, which I do. I think it's time that the city of Glenville approve this project, not only for the owners that haven't been able to live there, but for all the neighbors that have to look at a burnt, dark mess every single day. I don't want to look at the house for another year or two. Please, whatever you guys got to do, let's approve this and let's move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There appear to be no other callers.
Is there anybody else in the crowd that would like to speak that hasn't spoken yet? Okay. With that, Mr. Billion, if you would like, you have 5 minutes for a rebuttal. 3 minutes? 3 minutes for
I'll keep it short. I only need a minute. Just to respond to the speaker that she was saying there are windows looking into her living room. We only have one window on that side, and it's a bathroom window 5x2. And there was a balcony earlier. That balcony got eliminated, so no other windows look on that side. That's about it. And in regards to the other speaker, I respect the historical property. I love the architecture of their house. But again, I've been there on site, and with the canopy of the trees they have, I don't think this project is going to have any impact on them. That's my personal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions for staff, the applicant, ownership, anybody? Okay, thank you. With that, we'll close the public portion. Board Member Cascanyan, do you want to start us off on this one?
Sure. First off, thank you for everyone for coming and giving their speech. In regards to the house, I reviewed, since I was recently appointed on, I did review the last report, and thank you again for having that side by side for us to kind of like see the visuals of what it was and where it's at now. I do really like the design of the house, and I don't have any issues with adding a second story to the house. I do think it makes it look really nice. In regards to sorry, losing my train of thought. In regards to the shading that was proposed, or this report that was here, I was looking at the Google Maps of kind of like the shape, and it looks like if I'm not mistaken, there's a lot of trees that are covering that house, or the house, from what I see visually and from the street maps as well. So I don't know how the shadow study is, relaying that information because it looks like the entire house is covered by those trees. Other than that, I don't think the second story is going to have any impact on that. But for me, I think the designers overall are really good, and
We can't have cross communication.
and with the staff's recommendations, I approve.
Board Member Walsh.
Okay, so
You could comment on the two watches as well.
yeah, well, we are short of time here, so.
You're not. The one's a Fitbit, that's right.
Okay, so in all seriousness, I was part of the board that reviewed the case earlier, so I have the context of having seen the earlier design, and I definitely believe that this design is a much more successful solution than the previous one. I think it is a much more coherent design. I think that it is more respectful of the design guidelines. It's amazing what the gabled roof did for it. I think it's definitely a nod to the traditional, and I know that this is not necessarily a design aesthetic that is exactly in keeping with the mid-century of the rest of the neighborhood, but I think it is at least respectful towards it. Second floors are always a challenge in predominantly single-story neighborhoods. And I think that some effort at least was done here to step it back, pull it back from the property lines a little bit, recessing it back above the garage, where it was closest to the neighboring houses. I do note that there is one bedroom window there that faces that side, so you might want to take a look at that because you said that there was only the bathroom window. I see that there is a bedroom window as well. But regardless of that, I think that it is stepped back far enough, and with the ridge line between the properties, it helps to negate that along with the tree canopy cover. I calculated that the distance between the floor level of the main property here that's at question, and the subject property, is about 12 feet to the height of the pad above it. So it is a fair distance above it, but I do think that Ms. Conover is probably correct that she will be somewhat impacted by the view of that second story. It will impact some of her view. But stepping the second floor above the garage will help a little bit. I think that's largely the corner of her house that faces the views will be not very badly impeded, at least for a big portion of the view. But again, we don't really have the ability to reject designs based on other people's views. That's not within our purview. So I think that they've done some effort to help that. I think the color scheme is much improved, much more in keeping with the design guidelines. I think the balcony planters there that help screen those balconies, I think is nice. I like it. I would be concerned that it's a maintenance problem, but I approve of that. I think that anywhere we can bring green into the design of the projects is a good thing. So that's about it. Generally speaking, I approve it. I think staff's conditions are fine and apt, and I would support them. And beyond that, I think you did a good job fixing what was there before, make it look much better while still making it more respectful towards the neighborhood. So I think that was well done.
Thank you, Board Member Welsh. I agree with my colleagues and board members. I think there is a huge improvement from the last proposal, and I was involved with the last proposal as well. And I remember the comments, and I remember all the conditions that we prescribed. And I'm glad that staff was able to work with applicants so quickly to get us back to where we are today, because it's a huge difference. It's like a whole new design. I think looking at sheet A-1, comparing the old with the new, and I like the way that the rendering is depicted with kind of thumbprints underneath it. And as I'm comparing between the boxiness of the initial design and the articulation of the roof variety, the gable roofs, the consistently in window design, where before there was a little more variety, and now it's a lot more consistent with a traditional kind of a window sizing and style, coupled with the stone retaining walls and the stone material, the walkway and the entryway. It has a traditional sense to it with a bit of a modern flair. I feel as though the elimination of the decks really got me over the hump. Those decks were quite imposing onto the neighbors before. I mean, they were imposing. They were not as necessary. And so once those decks went away, and I think once you step back the second floor, we now have a compatible design that does fix a massive nuisance in the neighborhood. I mean, I would hate to live next to a burned out house for 4 years, and I would hate to own a property where I'm paying property taxes and insurance and a mortgage for 4 years. It's a terrible situation. And I also wholeheartedly understand the neighbors as well. You have these pads, these hillside areas, and there's some concerns with the neighbors, but I feel as though a really good compromise is being presented here. And we do see bad proposals, and this isn't one of them. They've really gone quite a ways to make this a big improvement from what was before. And so I feel as though the process has helped. I feel as though this is a good design, and I think it's going to be a good addition to the neighborhood. And I hope you'll be able to build it sooner than later and to help out the surrounding neighbors, because boy, that's a tough situation to be in. So with that, I also approve the project and would love to quickly go over some of the conditions that staff feels as though are necessary to integrate into this motion.
Well, Chris already went over the staff conditions, and I didn't hear anything that would suggest changing those. The architect said that there won't be retaining walls that we were concerned about, so I guess we could keep the condition just to verify that. And if it proves to be true, that would be good. I did hear Mr. Welch mentioned one bedroom window also facing the neighbor. I wasn't sure if we were talking about the neighbor to the right, because when I looked at the plan, there's only a bathroom window. Is that
That's the neighbor to the right. Yeah.
is with just one bathroom window? Right. I thought you had said there was also a bedroom window facing them.
I was referring to the neighbor to the north.
To the back?
To the back side.
Okay, I see. And was that any condition, or that was just a statement?
Just an observation.
Okay. Otherwise, I didn't hear any new conditions to apply to the staff conditions.
Is that window exist, or does it not exist on the north side?
It does exist on the north side. I just misheard. I thought we were talking about the, I guess, the east side. Yes, there's one bedroom window facing north and two bedroom windows facing north. And let me look at the elevations to see.
So is the window going away or staying?
No, those windows are staying. Yeah, the bathroom windows are very limited. One is up high, probably over the tub or in the shower. And then the two bedroom windows are more normally placed with lower sills.
Yeah, I feel as though the bedrooms above the garage really help with the massing and the style. It's quite a nice difference than those ribbon windows from before.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Big improvement.
Okay. So was that it?
I'd like to move we approve the project with staff's conditions as presented.
Okay, was that a motion by Board Member Welch?
Yes.
I second.
Second by Board Member Kaskanian.
Roll call. Board Member Kaskanian,
Yes.
Board Member Welch,
Yes.
and Chair Simonian.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I move we adjourn.
Adjourned.
Before we
Oh,
wish everyone a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving season. So
Thank you.
enjoy it with your families. That meeting on the Thanksgiving will not be held, obviously. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be on December the 8th. So we invite you back then. And we do have 2 meetings scheduled in December. So it'd be the 8th and the 22nd. So please mark your calendars.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That said, now is there a motion to adjourn?
Now I move we adjourn.
Thank you.
Adjourned.
Okay.